My company just made an acquisition down in New Zealand. It was a technical kind of front-end platform that engages directly with our customers. The company were actually re-platforming, and I didn't have any staff down in New Zealand, and I'm actually running another integration up here in Australia. So I just needed some boots on the ground at a relatively technical level to work with that company, work out what they were doing, and then write me a report so that I could know where to really start down there in New Zealand.
Okay, and I guess how did you start your journey with them? What was the initial problem that you wanted them to help you solve?
Just getting that relationship right to begin with the company on the ground in New Zealand and with the vendor. So there was a bit of careful maneuvering. Because obviously when you've got technology companies and someone's going to be looking under the hood and looking at their code base, they can be very touchy about that. Yeah. So that was probably, for that initial piece of work, that was the thing that we had to be really careful on. And that was just a very gradual introduction. I played a part in that, and the guys on the ground had a part to play in that as well. Yeah. And it went quite smoothly, but everyone was warned up front of how important that was.
What were some of the key challenges that you experienced during the project, both working with Apolinar or within your internal teams?
So look, it was just a little bit of dialogue both ways of saying, here's who you're gonna, I would explain it to the Apolinar guys of here's who you're gonna meet today, here's how I think you should approach them, here's what that looks like, and they would share a little bit of an idea back to me of how that was gonna go. For all the initial introductions, I made sure that I was there personally to kind of broker the deal, if you like. Yes. But then as we've gone further on, they've very much been standalone because the relationships are there. So I think building those relationships was really important, so everyone knew who they were and what they were trying to do, and that was sponsored. Then it's become a lot easier.
What were you trying to achieve during that workshop? What were the main actions in that scope of work? What was the essence of what you were trying to achieve?
Look, it just really laid out what I needed investigated. And it was a little bit of both. Some of that was my ideas, some of that was John and Anna's ideas of things that they were architecturally looking for, which is a little bit more of their skill set than mine. And then actually working through the engagement model. So they helped me structure a workshop that I had with my company on the ground, plus the vendor company, with me running it, but with guys from Apolinar coming in to do that initial introduction, and then there was a background introduction after that. It's quite a specialist technical field. You know, there's a bit of enterprise architecture, a bit of solution architecture, and then a bit of BA work that was needed. But then an understanding of process in an industry that's not that common. But they just gave me confidence very quickly that they could get their head around that. I think one of the highlights was probably in one of our last meetings where I had a kind of interim report given to me, but there was a few, I wouldn't say surprising findings, but there were things that they had pulled out of the work that I wasn't really looking for. That was a real value add, and some of it was actually contrary to my initial expectations, so that was good. So they weren't just telling me what I wanted to hear, they were telling me something slightly different but explaining how they got there. It was really just to kind of pull the scope of work together, really more than anything. I kind of knew what I was looking for, but they were actually just probably to help me structure my thoughts a bit more, and then to focus on really what the deliverables were going to be. That led to them actually producing a scoping document that I could take off and get signed and get them moving on it. The two areas that we've kind of gone most into is probably the solution architecture that I really needed them to unpick for me, which again is not my level of skill, so they've gone much deeper and added a lot of value there. And then secondly, on this kind of secondary piece of work that we've now gone into, they've got a relatively technical BA, but there's also got a degree of project management. So again, they're running things on the ground for me pretty well.